Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping straight into a head-to-head battle between the free tiers of DeepSeek and Claude. We want to find out exactly where each of these models breaks down. Because, let's be real here, for most founders, marketers, and freelancers, the free version isn't just a trial run, right? It's the entire product. We're not wasting time today on theoretical capabilities or those $200 a month enterprise plans. We're looking strictly at what you actually get when you open a fresh browser tab for $0. So here's our scorecard for today's 6 rounds. We'll quickly run through the free AI face-off, the coding test, the writing test, freshness and honesty, price and privacy, and then finally wrap it all up with the final verdict. Let's get into it. Starting off with Section 1, the free AI face-off, the starting line. First, we've got to establish the baseline facts. What are you literally getting when you load up one of these tools? Well, DeepSeek, coming out of a lab in Hangzhou, gives you their absolute flagship model, the 1.6 trillion parameter V4 Pro, completely for free. There isn't even a paid consumer tier to upsell you to, and you don't really have to worry about strict message caps either. Then you have Claude from Anthropic over in San Francisco. They offer their incredibly capable workhorse Sonnet 4.6 for free. But notice the catch here. It comes with a daily message cap of roughly 40 messages, and their true flagship model, Opus 4.8, yeah, that's locked behind a $20 paywall. So right out of the gate, we're looking at 2 entirely different philosophies. Moving on to Section 2, the coding test. Who writes better code? Specs are great and all, but performance is what actually matters. So we gave both models an 11 p.m. panic coding chore. We asked them to write a Python script for a sales spreadsheet that calculates top products by region and handles missing or broken rows. Now, both models actually gave us working code on the first try, but the outputs, they reveal completely different engineering styles. DeepSeek goes for this maximal, thorough answer. It just assumes you have the Pandas data library installed, wraps everything into one massive function, literally comments every single line, and even goes the extra mile by offering a sample CSV file to test it out. Claude, on the flip side, it delivers a lean, zero-dependency script. It only uses standard Python libraries, which is great because it runs anywhere without extra installations. It splits the code into 4 easily testable functions, and incredibly, it catches an edge case that DeepSeek just completely missed. It recognized that negative sales amounts are bad data and automatically skipped them. And you know what? The standardized benchmarks back up exactly what we saw in that manual test. DeepSeek is a brilliant puzzle solver. I mean, it absolutely dominates algorithm tests like LiveCodeBench. But when it comes to the SWE-bench Pro multi-file coding test, Claude is the clear winner here, scoring 69.2% against DeepSeek's 55.4%. Basically, this benchmark throws the model into a real GitHub repo and asks it to fix an issue across multiple files without breaking the whole thing. So the takeaway here, DeepSeek is the genius mathematician you want for standalone algorithms, but Claude is the careful engineer you want for multi-file code that actually needs to ship. All right, Section 3, the writing test, finding the human voice. Code is one thing, but what about client emails, content creation, marketing copy? We really need to know who writes better. So we fed them a prompt that a small business owner might use. Explain, in 150 words, if I should worry about AI replacing my bookkeeper. Both were completely honest. Both hit the exact word count, but the tonal difference. Wow, it was striking. DeepSeek's output read exactly like a well-organized corporate memo. It used super clean paragraphs and sounded like a competent but slightly stiff consultant. Claude, however, it sounded like a real human being. It broke the text up into a highly scannable bulleted list. It referenced actual real-world tools like QuickBooks and Xero, mentioned the IRS, and it ended with a punchy opinion instead of just hedging its bets. If you're writing copy that's actually going to carry your name, this gap in tone is absolutely massive. Okay, let's turn to Section 4, freshness and honesty, the internet blind spot. Now this is the plot twist that completely changes how you should view these 2 tools when you're trusting them with current facts. We asked both models a super simple question. What are the latest AI models available today? DeepSeek's flagship expert mode explicitly replied that search is unavailable in expert mode, and then it proceeded to tell us the newest models were Claude 3.5 and DeepSeek V2. Guys, those are models from 2 years ago. It literally had no idea it was currently running on V4. Meanwhile, the free version of Claude natively searched the web and perfectly named today's entire lineup, even catching the recent recall of the Fable 5 model that had happened just days prior. And that blind spot leads us to a very dangerous metric, 94%. This shocking number represents DeepSeek V4 Pro's fabrication rate on the omniscience benchmark. This test looks at how a model handles obscure topics it just doesn't know. Instead of just admitting, hey, I'm not sure, DeepSeek's flagship confidently invents or hallucinates answers 94% of the time. which lines up uncomfortably well with it confidently telling us a 2-year-old model was the newest release. Claude, by design, is built to flag uncertainty much more often. So there's a massive trade-off happening here. DeepSeek actually can search the web, but to do it, you have to manually downgrade your chat from expert mode to their smaller, lighter instant mode. You literally have to trade away their flagship reasoning model just to get internet access. Claude, on the other hand, stays current natively on its standard models. If your workflow touches anything happening in the real world this week, Claude is, quite frankly, the only safe choice.
Which brings us to Section 5, Price and Privacy, the elephant in the room.
Let's shift away from performance features for a second and talk about the hidden costs of using free AI. While the browser versions are free, if your business ever scales up to using the API, the pricing gap is just staggering. Claude Opus 4.8 is roughly 28 times more expensive per million output tokens than DeepSeek V4 Pro. 28 times. One developer actually reported running a full month's heavy API workload on DeepSeek for just $1.83. For high-volume, automated jobs where you don't necessarily need absolute top-tier writing, DeepSeek's math is absolutely brutal to argue against.
However, DeepSeek's cost advantage comes with a massive geopolitical data privacy catch. Everything you send, every single prompt, every CSV file, is stored on servers physically located in China. This means it's subject to the Chinese National Intelligence Law, which can compel companies to hand data over to the state. Because of this, DeepSeek is entirely banned on US Department of Defense systems, as well as on government devices across Canada, Australia, and several US states. Basically, if you handle government contracts or highly sensitive client data, using the cloud version of DeepSeek is completely disqualified. Now, on the flip side, Claude clears those geopolitical hurdles by being hosted in the US, but it has some very sneaky consumer terms you really need to be aware of. By default, Claude actually trains its models on your free, Pro, and Max chats. You have to manually dig into the settings to opt out. Furthermore, their privacy policy allows Anthropic to share user conversations with law enforcement based on their own good faith belief without needing a court order on those same consumer plans. And get this, a recent federal ruling even found that chats with Claude carry no attorney-client privilege. So neither free tier is exactly a secure vault. Finally, we arrive at Section 6, the final verdict. Which should you use? Let's synthesize all of this into a really practical playbook for your day-to-day workflow. The reality is, neither model is the undisputed all-around champion. Your strategy should absolutely be to pick by task. Use DeepSeek when you're on a tight budget, doing heavy math, solving algorithm puzzles, or running high-volume API jobs where cost is the ultimate deciding factor. It's the ultimate mathematician. But reach for Claude when you're doing client work, drafting persuasive copy, engineering complex multi-file code, or doing anything that requires up-to-date web research. It's the careful engineer and the human-sounding writer. I love this quote. DeepSeek for the cheap heavy lifting, Claude for the things that carry your name. That perfectly summarizes the takeaway here. Switching back and forth between both tools isn't a cop-out at all. Honestly, it's the smartest tactical move a freelancer, founder, or student can make right now. Let the models do what they're respectively best at. I want to leave you with one final thought. Before you copy and paste your next proprietary spreadsheet or your client's unreleased financial data into a free browser window, ask yourself, are you exposing confidential data just to save a few dollars? Do you truly understand the hidden trade-offs, whether that's geopolitical server locations or default data training of the tool you just selected? The AI might be free, but the cost of a data mistake? That certainly isn't. Thanks for joining me on this explainer today, and hey, I highly encourage you to go review your privacy settings on whichever tool you choose to use. Catch you next time.